my God, that's so loud. Welcome back again to another episode of You Haven't Seen That Podcast, or YHST for short. I'm Isaac.
I'm Elva.
And this is a show where we cover movies on the growing list of films that has people asking us a question. You haven't seen that? And another intermission edition. I can't control these things, right? We contractually have to let her go that long. We're covering 3 movies. It's an intermission. We're covering 3 movies. Some like movies to talk about, honestly. You want to tell them what they are?
Yes. Elio, 28 years later, and the F1 movie.
Oh, you're excited to talk about that one. But before we get into those things, just a quick reminder, if you are new to our humble little podcast, remember that you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at
YHST
and on those places. Oh, and on YouTube.
Yes, and YHST Pod.
And on those places, you can like and you can share and you can subscribe and you can comment and you can follow and you can share some of those things. Did I say share twice?
You should. I'm about to say that you said share 3 times.
But you can communicate with us and be part of the bigger dialogue, the bigger conversation that is movie talk.
We respond back.
We do. We really do. Because I enjoy hearing what interests everyone and what resonates with everyone. So there's, it's the filmic community, if you will. But anyways, you can support us in that way. And if you want to support us in a monetary fashion, well, you can do that on Venmo at
YHST Pod.
At YHST Pod and all the places. Easy to find, easy to follow. We thank you in advance for doing so. And we thank you for those who've already done that. Seriously, big shout out to a lot of people. So love you. Mean it. Now, before we get into the movie talk, we do, in fact, have some news where we keep you informed and up to date about all the things going on in Hollywood, movies, and entertainment. What the humble, simple little segment we call YHST News. I got to figure out how to get into that.
You have to figure it out. It's fine.
All right, kicking it off with me. So we got more confirmation on casting. Jon Bernthal does join the Spider-Man Part 4 Brand New Day cast. Of course, as a Punisher, I'm a little bit apprehensive of this casting because that version of Punisher is such a hardcore, violent character. Does this mean we're going to get a PG-13 rating or rated R? I don't know. Stay tuned.
For all my Twilight Zone fans, we may have a new Twilight Zone film with Ben Stiller directing it for Warner Brothers, and Leonardo DiCaprio will be using his production company. So we'll see when that happens.
Hell yeah. I think that's going to be like a good setup or, a compilation of people because of Ben Stiller coming off of like Severance. Anyhow.
Yeah.
But in sad news, WB Warner Brothers loses its rights to the Akira animated movie. The rights to that after 20 years, there was word and rumor that Taika Waititi was attached to it some time ago, but unfortunately, it was shelved for so long, and that's how Hollywood works. And so Warner Brothers will not, that won't come to fruition. I don't know who's going to do what with it, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be big talks and who's going to attack it. There's some other people have been rumored to have their eye on that. I think Michael B. Jordan or something like that.
Ooh.
I know.
Okay. All right. So continuing with sci-fi news, we have Steven Spielberg, who has wrapped filming his new untitled UFO thriller that'll be coming out June 12, 2026.
That guy in sci-fi. He knows a thing or two about it. In the comic book world, Batman 2, the Matt Reeves Batman, the Robert Pattinson Batman, finally, the script has been finished. There was talks, we even said in a previous news that it was getting pushed back and it will even come to see the light of day. And it turns out, yes, on October 1st, 2027. So thank you, James Gunn, for having patience with Matt Reeves and letting him just kind of do his thing, letting him cook, if you will.
Michael Bay will be returning to direct a new Transformers Rise of Unicron.
Are they nude?
Okay, I'll start that one over
nope,
again.
I'm keeping it in. Go.
Okay. No, I gotta start all over again.
Nope, we're keeping it in.
No. He'll be doing the new Transformers Rise of the Unicorn. So make sure you have your Dramamine, earplugs, and hopefully lots of explosions and glitter will be expected.
All right, in the video game live-action adaptation world Street Fighter cast, more actors have been confirmed to be cast. We still haven't gotten word on who's going to play Guile or who's going to play M. Bison, but though there has been rumor of Alan Ritchson and Walton Goggins playing the respective 2 characters. But what has recently been confirmed is 50 Cent is going to play Bullrog, Jason Momoa as Blanca, Noah Centineo as Ken, Roman Reigns as Akuma, Andrew Koji as Ryu, Orville Peak as Vega. That's right, Orville Peak is a country star. That one actually surprised me more than anyone else.
Country.
He country. Kalina Liang as Chun-Li and Andrew Schultz as Dan Hibiki. That's the one that really threw me the fuck off. I love me some Andrew Schultz in certain things like in the show Tires, but...
You could just remove him out of everything.
Yeah, that Waluigi looking motherfucker. So...
For all my What We Do in the Shadows fans, that team will be producing a pilot for a very young Frankenstein series.
Oh my God, that's great.
So we'll see how that goes. I believe Taika Waititi will be directing it.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to that.
He's done the
Shadows. Yeah. All right, cool. Nice. Well, consider yourself informed. There you have it. There it is. Now we get to talk about our movies. No. We did that at the beginning.
Well,
Don't make me edit shit.
You did mine in the middle of my news.
And it was good.
No, it wasn't. It threw me off.
Well, I get final cut. All right, let's jump into it then. Disney Pixar just released Elio. Of course, at the time of this podcast released, that movie had dropped weeks ago. Out the gate, unfortunately, it broke box office records in the worst ways.
Yes.
Had the lowest box office opening weekend. And that pisses me off because I really enjoyed that movie, because people have been bitching, moaning, and crying about original movies and original ideas and like, oh, another sequel, another adaptation, another live action. And then when you follow that up with, well, are you then going to see whatever original movies out in the theaters? They go, well, I don't know anything about that. I go, that's the problem. You got to be a movie lover in the sense of like, oh, that's a new idea. Let's go see that. Even if you don't know anything, you might be surprised.
No, definitely agree with that. And even with this movie, as a Disney adult, yes, I'm calling myself a Disney adult because I
don't make me edit that out.
No, because I do. No, here's the thing. Because I do go to Disneyland at least like 2 times a month at minimum, if it is. Usually when Disney and Pixar are coming out with a new movie, you see merchandise, you see some type of something around the parks.
Right.
About their new movie coming out.
Right.
And this one, I couldn't find merchandise. Like, I knew I saw the trailer, but the closer we got to the movie, the lesser I saw of merchandise with this. I don't know if it was because the 75 years of Disney were going on or something, but still, you would still bring in some of that. So I just, on my perspective, I didn't see much of it.
Which is surprising because it didn't have a small budget. It had a $150 million budget, which I feel a lot of Disney Pixar movies roughly have that budget. I mean, mind you, remember, Snow White had a $204 million budget. So this is not a budget to sneeze at. Obviously, I don't know like so much of the behind the scenes of to the extent of, was it because of the casting, which they didn't have really huge actors. We had like Zoe Saldana pop in there as his aunt.
His aunt, yes.
Right? Which it just bums me out because you're right. Like I probably saw a poster or 3 and it didn't really see like tons of commercials or any kind of advertisements on social media. And it felt imbalanced, which then made me not interested in going to see it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I didn't want to see it because at first I didn't know what it was about.
I heard whispers though that it was good. And I go, you know what, Elva? We are committing that sin that we blame everyone, shame everyone else for doing. I think
this is a time where we reverse roles, and I didn't want to see this movie. But before we get too much into it, let me go ahead and give like a little bit of what the movie is about.
Yeah, give me the synopsis.
Yeah, so Elio, a space fanatic with an active imagination, finds himself on a cosmic misadventure where he must form a new bond with alien life forms, navigate a crisis of intergalactic
easy for you to say.
Intergalactic proportions, and somehow discover who he is truly meant to be.
Of course, every Disney Pixar movie is going to have some overall deeper message that people can relate to, and it may not be like so heavy-handed as like Inside Out or so hidden as like Luca may be. And this one is more. They never really say the words like ADHD, but when you watch this character bounce around, you go, "Oh, okay." He's having to deal with having ADHD and not having a lot of friends. We've said it multiple times on this podcast. That's something that you and I can relate to, where we don't feel comfortable being ourselves around certain people, and we get shamed for it, and it makes us really like hyper defensive.
Yeah. So this is another movie I cried in.
Oh yeah, no, it's good.
Put that there.
So good.
I should just make a list of movies I haven't cried in. I think that would be easier. No, when he gets bullied, I was just like, bitches, let me get inside that movie and beat those kids up.
I got you, Elio. I want to quickly say that the directors of the three directors of this movie were people we recognize their past works from Disney and Pixar, which is usually how Disney and Pixar works. They use people that have been successful, and that is Adrian Molina, who was responsible for Coco, Domi Shi, who was responsible for Turning Red, and Madeline Sharafian. Apologize if I mispronounced that. Sharafian, who was involved in both of these other aforementioned things, including Luca. I forget exactly who did what. I know, I think all these three people also did like Inside Out too, but they were involved in a lot of the past Disney stuff that were very successful that you and I both enjoyed a lot. But the reason why I wanted to bring those names up specifically is for me, it was the art style that was unique. The way that Coco was unique, the way that Luca was it was relatively unique. And then the one that I feel bad that people hadn't, not a lot of people have seen, but those who have seen it, there's like a cult following for it, which is Turning Red.
Oh my God, I love it.
That one dropped on Disney Plus streaming during the pandemic. So obviously they weren't going to show it in movie theaters, but
they did. They eventually did.
Oh, did they really?
We went to the movie theaters to see it.
Did we?
Yes.
I thought we saw it with the kids.
No, we saw bits and pieces of it with the kids, and then you're like, that looks like a good movie.
I also want to take time to point out what early set Alzheimer's looks like in a 35-year-old.
Yeah, no, because I remember you're like, oh, you said we should watch Turning Red, and I'm like, okay, well, it's on Disney Plus. And then I told you, I was like, oh, Turning Red is coming to theaters because they're doing a theatrical release since it dropped during COVID.
Damn, I don't remember. Anyways, my apologies then for my lack of memory. I can't even tell you what I ate this morning for breakfast. But
eggs.
Was it just eggs?
And chicken parm.
Did I though?
We don't know.
But no, I wanted to point that out specifically for the animation style because Turning Red had this combination of like anime and your traditional, whatever that means, like CG. And so it's something that looked both like a cartoon, but yet that sort of realism that CG can provide. And this one leaned a little bit more away from the anime style. But there's just these little details, and I'm being a nerd about it, but these little details like the little fine hairs on the character's ears. You know what I mean?
Gordon, his little scales and stuff. Oh my God. Like you can see like the individual scales. Now
the funny part is that's one of the bigger things that I loved about the movie. I was talking to someone else who had also seen this movie, and they didn't like the art style, the animation style. So to each their own.
Okay.
But let's just say you're turned off by that. There is something in this movie, I think, for everybody that anybody and everybody can enjoy. Not just the message,
definitely,
but the homage to like sci-fi and how it's explored, and it's like simple little nods that for those parents that are watching the movies, they're like, oh, that's totally from Alien, or that's from Terminator, or, you know.
Well, even the comedic beats were freaking hilarious. Yeah, they were good.
Good. I'm kind of bouncing around, though. But drinking game, take a drink of every time we say that. No, we're not doing this. But look at all this beautiful... By the way, we're in the Hypertext studio, so there's like alcohol in front of us. No, we're not doing it. Going back to it not doing great in the box office, right? The lack of promotions and everything like that. I also have a theory, minus the lack of promotions, which is, I think, obviously a big one. But compared to all the other aforementioned movies that these three directors had worked on, Luca, Turning Red, and Coco, all of those three movies are culturally centered. And so you're going to have a given big audience that will go see that and feel like they've been seen, like they're properly represented, because everyone, you know, the culture that's involved with those movies, everyone had loved it for that proper representation. This movie is one of the first in a long time that has nothing to do with culture. The character Elio and his aunt are, what are they? They're
Mexican and Dominican.
But they could have also been any other race. Like their culture didn't necessarily play a part in any part of the movie or storyline. And so it's like, yes, here's who we are. And then we move on to all the sci-fi stuff. And I think because of that, compared to those other movies, I just have a theory that's why people weren't like glommed onto it.
I think also it's another case of people don't like talking about grief. And this one is a child who is dealing with grief and trying to fit in and growing up and having to acclimate to a new environment, living when it's with their aunt. And I think all that just makes him more of the outsider.
Yeah. I mean, Coco was all about grief, but I think because it was...
Coco gave you the celebration of life that comes within grief. This one is just a kid who's dealing with grief as someone.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say that like Coco was also, utilized the whole Mexican culture of the celebration of life, which is the whole Dia de los Muertos thing. This one was not in any bit. I could see that. But stepping away from all the sad stuff, what were some of the things that you liked about this movie?
Glordon. The little
alien kid.
Yeah, I like the little blue whatever it was.
Oh, the liquid AI.
Yeah, I like that. And I also liked how Glordon's dad kind of gave a little bit of Zurg. They gave that vibe.
By the way, voiced by Brad Garrett. I think he said this is his first villain that he's done.
Nice. I like that. I just like that, and I like the fact that he found friends in a circle that you really cannot keep up with because you're dimensions away. But the fact that he found a friend, and not only that, but helped that friend out.
Yeah. There's some moments in there where he sees his own issues mirrored in the situation of his alien friend. Like I said, some things are like a little, heavy handed because it is ultimately a kid's movie. But the things that I could enjoy, like as an adult, was some of the sci-fi elements in there, like some technologies that they were using, how they were introduced, implemented, utilized, and then also used for like comedic bits that I did not expect and came out of nowhere, and some of the best ways that had you and me just cackling. And there's one of my favorite moments is one of my favorite series of moments is with the clone.
Oh yeah.
I want I want Disney to do like a whole side series the way that they did with
that'd be great.
With
like
Baymax.
Like a little mini series.
Yeah, there you go.
Little short episodes.
With that clone. Holy crap, man. That is so enjoyable. Like even the way that clone went out was just chef's kiss beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. I did like the old school, like having to have the ham radio and calling out to aliens instead of like the any other way to like crazy way. Like it was actually like the helmet, like the
tinfoil hat thing.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that's nice. Bring back the old crazy. Let's go.
I know the cape was a bit much to me, but no, it's overall just a very enjoyable movie. If anyone is listening to this and had zero expectation to go see this, if you have kids, if you don't have kids, if you're a Disney fan, like I really think a lot of people should go see this and they can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're just a regular adult in a movie theater with a kids movie, it's a little bit weird. So
that's why you have to take your Disney adult friend with you, so it's not weird.
I feel like that makes it a little as weird. It's a lateral move. All right, moving on. Sci-fi stuff. 28 years later, Danny Boyle returns to direct this. Alex Garland writes it. Both of these are heavy hitter people. What are you familiar with part 1 and 2? 28 days and 28 weeks.
Well, here's the thing. I don't remember any of those other than like zombie-ish things. But that day that we were going to go see that movie, I was with my nail tech. Hi, Marie.
Does she listen?
I think so. And
shout out.
And we were talking about something, and then anyways, somehow it's Love Island. But it was like on the TV for a bit, and I was like, yeah, I like this.
Yeah, that's definitely wasn't Love Island. It was more Rage Zombie Island, which, by the way, I don't know if the other movies had used the word zombie, but this one, the Z word was definitely used once in it. And I was like, oh, well, you guys acknowledge zombies. Okay. So you don't have to be too familiar with the other two movies. They do have an intro to, they prep you like sort of like, previously on, because all the three movies aren't connected as far as like the survivors, right? There's no continuing story with all that stuff. But what makes it fun is with this unique zombie, it being the rage virus, they're not biting or attacking people to eat flesh or anything like that. That's just to spread infection. Kind of like World War Z, which what a crap movie. But
they have great cardio, by the way. Great cardio. I was ashamed.
They have a great couple of other things we'll get to. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting about these movies is that they can then tell a very interesting story with the backdrop of unique zombies. I'm going to use the word zombies. They use infected in there more than zombie, but whatever. I like the Z word. It was an interesting storytelling, the exploration of what we already know and the expansion of some of those things as far as like biology and how people have survived over the past 28 years on this quarantine island. And, you know, the way that their lives essentially paused in 2002 or something like that, and how they don't have that 28 years worth of technology. And so you get a little fun back and forth when someone who comes from, like, I think
Switzerland, yeah.
Yeah, he makes his way to the island in ways I won't spoil any of the movie for you. It's not a big spoiler, and then he has like a back and forth with a couple of the characters, and it's really funny. I didn't expect a comic relief moment like that, but it only happens there, and then it's just intensity for the remainder of the movie. What did you expect from it? Because you hadn't brushed up on the other two movies, but what was your takeaway from it?
I went in blind and I thought it was going to be like another zombie movie.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have much of an expectation for it, other than maybe thinking, "Please don't suck." And
then that one zombie showed itself, and I was like, "Suck."
No, and then I also kind of want to see how like Aaron Taylor Johnson was going to be in this movie, because I was kind of in a weird, I guess, headspace with him, because the last one he did was the Marvel movie that we never talk about,
Craven.
Yeah, and I felt like,
although technically right after that he did Nosferatu.
Yeah. But Craven's the one that stands out more.
The stink was still on him.
And Nosferatu, he was barely there in a weird way. Yeah. So it doesn't really make up for it. So that was like kind of my thing. I'm like, oh, you're picking this one person, but also like the last one, that the role that stood out for me, that kind of was like, was that movie. So I was kind of like, please do good.
Well, he is also just kind of on brand with that exact same thing, that he isn't technically the lead of this movie, which took me by surprise in a good way, because he's not the lead. He's the dad of the lead, which is the kid who was played by, you have that there? Alfie Williams. This kid surprised me. I don't know what else he's been in, and I'll probably look into it later, or you can look at it as we're talking about it. But the majority of the movie rested on his shoulders, and he held it very well. So he's a good actor. I mean, you know, the intensity, the fun parts, the emotion, it's all there. And he has a good cast to play off of. The Aaron Taylor Johnson, the very underutilized Jodie Comer, who plays his mom. And that whole storyline that kind of came out of nowhere. And it was all right. It was okay. Ray Fiennes has a small bit towards the end of the movie, and Ray Fiennes is Ray Fiennes. Like, he's going to be miraculous. Yeah, he does no wrong. He's going to be miraculous in anything he's in. But to have someone like that to play off of, which I'm sure all the aforementioned actors are going to like pull him aside and go, "Hey, buddy, let me help you out here."
Yeah. Also, Alfie Williams, this is his third role. He's only done 3, and I believe his first role was like a TV series, and he was only in one.
Doesn't count.
One episode, but the other one was A New Breed of Criminal.
Okay.
I don't know that one. And then this one was like the more out there, very much here you go, big role. And of course he has his 4th role coming up.
That's right. This movie is going to be a trilogy.
It is.
I don't know. I haven't heard how fans are going to feel about how they felt about that yet. I very much enjoyed this movie. The end of the movie is going to throw people off, and we'll get to that in a minute. But it takes like a tonal shift, and, you know, being that the other movies being like 28 days, 28 weeks, and now we're going to be like 28 years and a couple of days, and 28 years and a few more weeks. Like,
28 years, and then it's going to be 28 years later, and going into something that's within that was in that movie. Yeah,
that very, like, you know, now that new timeline, or whatever timeline.
The island, 28 years later on the island, 28 years later, and then the zombie, or
but
whatever.
Right. Same. But it's the first time we are then following with a consistent storyline.
Yeah. And I like the marketing in this. I don't like watching the trailers that come out. So I do remember you saying, like, there's a lot of trailers for this movie that are coming out. Turns out there is a website. You basically had to watch all these trailers that were coming out, because you had to get the password from each trailer. And, you know, of course, the word is said in the movie. And and you go into this website and it gives you was it voice memos and text and emails and photos of like going back between scientists and like the people who were on a raft and everything like that. So I did like how they're building all that to create its own little world for the next trilogy. So it has its like, oh, you thought this was weird, but wait, go back to the website. Go look at everything that's on there.
That's pretty solid. I like fun interactive marketing like that. Going on like a technical road. So the other movies when we also made them unique was the more guerrilla style of filming, including but not limited to how they shot it, right? The other ones were shot like on handheld, a very readily available camera. I don't know the exact details. Apologies. I'm not that much of a nerd, but this one was notably filmed on iPhones. Mind you, not just like your standard iPhone, here you go, the lens is used. Like they have attachments to it. So they have their different lenses, like anamorphic lenses and maybe like a telescoping lens or something like that, right? So yes, it's on an iPhone, but iPhones nowadays look really good. Mind you, iPhones traditionally, when you're only using like regular video and you're not using quote unquote cinematic mode, it has what they call deep focus, which means everything, no matter the foreground, midground, or background, is all in focus, deep focus. So when you do cinematic mode, it replicates or emulates a shallow depth of field or specific depth of field. I'm going nerdy here. But the reason why I say replicates is because it's using like AI technology or facial recognition to then pick what to focus on and what to blur out. That's why if ever anyone uses cinematic mode, and you have like bushy hair, you'll notice like a weird in focus, out of focus halo around that person because it's not a real traditional focus. You can sometimes see that in the movie. Doesn't really stand out. But my point being is like, it didn't, for me, lend to anything that was like, wow, shot on iPhones. Although real quick, they did have like a bullet time rig. So in some of the kill shots, it like snapped to bullet time. It was cool for a minute. It wasn't consistently used for every kill. And I could have done with or without it. It was like a fun setup. Like if I was doing something like that, I'd be like, oh, cool. But for a big time movie, I don't know.
Okay, so going with the whole iPhone thing, I was listening to an interview where the reason they picked iPhones is because they didn't want the island that they were filming at, there's not a lot of foot traffic. It's very preserved. So they didn't want to bring any big rigs or anything that's going to basically disrupt, what's the word?
The environment?
Environment. Also, there was drones
Big
used.
recycler, are you?
Yeah. There's also drones. That one scene where I was like, I like this. Oh, and I don't know if you were talking about it earlier, but there was a U-shaped like rig thing.
Yeah, that's the bullet time rig I was talking about.
Oh, they use that for the running thing.
Well, not specifically the running thing. I know the still frame that you had looked at, but that was for every kill shot or most kill shots.
Got it. Yes, I don't know what I'm talking about. What am I doing in this podcast?
No.
Get me out of here.
You were good. No, thank you for reminding me about like the drone stuff. Man, there's a lot of movies that have utilized FPV drones, and I like when they do it properly. And this one used it, like especially in intense moments. So like some stuff was very unique. This movie is a combination of like technical. I don't know the better term, but like technical coolness. Like it's like, oh, this is pretty fucking cool and very stylistic. But some of those stylistic bits in the movie didn't lend much. Like sometimes it led into the like the parallel of the intensity and what people are doing compared to like back then. And then at a certain point, I go, all right, that's just like meant to look weird or whatever.
And Michael Bay, that is how you use drones without making people motion sick, okay? God damn. Not one moment in this movie was I motion sick.
I just, going back to that movie was Ambulance because we didn't have the podcast at the time of that.
No.
That movie Ambulance, the reason why it didn't work out well, the pilot, Alex Vanover, is a very technical FPV drone racer, but cinematically, there are better people. There's one guy called Tommy. I think his handle's like, oh my God. And then there's Bubby. Fucking love Bubby. Those people know how to frame a shot and maintain that intensity and whatever. But
isn't Vanover like a very like, I don't know about that one, but this one maybe with his equipment?
He is. No, that one, that's a Mr. Steele, but you kind of know your stuff. Yeah. No, imagine like.
I pay attention when you speak.
That makes one of us. Imagine like Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Vanover's like kind of a Verstappen where he's just, you're like, wow, he's technically really amazing, but in this realm, in this lane. Yeah. But let's talk about the things we held our breath for.
Okay.
Zombie dongs.
A lot of them.
Why? No, one particular one. Why?
That the alpha?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But can we also talk about how this, I don't know if this would be a spoiler or anything or not, whatever.
Okay.
The pregnant one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
What about it?
I'm like,
You got zombie dong. We got big-breasted pregnant zombies.
no. I'm not talking about that. The fact that they like, they're multiplying without, like, they're reproducing.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was talking about as far as like exploring the biological, expanding on the biological lore.
Yeah.
So they did some of that, and it makes you question like how do they function? And okay, now they're sort of organizing, and it makes for interesting conversation.
It
for
does,
sure.
like right now.
It was too much, dude. Not just in size and girth, but I'm talking about like, I don't know if it was like ultimately necessary. There's, I understand if you got like naked zombies running around and you get a shot or two of stuff, but there is, I guess, spoiler, whatever. There is a scene where Ray Fiennes is interacting with the alpha zombie, and he's like he's waist height with the zombie dong, and it's practically hitting him in the face. And I'm like,
well, be just like,
I'm like, dude, what the hell?
like, you sure this movie's not rated R or something?
And for anyone who doesn't know already and has already seen the movie, I'm sorry to inform you that is not the actor's actual dong.
No, because there were children involved. They had to use prosthetics.
So, if anyone actually interacts with the actor who played the alpha, Chi Lewis Perry, he's probably going to have to tell you, no, it was just all makeup.
Mm-hmm. Theatrics.
It's all movie magic, smoke and mirrors, and dongs. And then lastly, before we move on to our next movie, the ending is going to weird people out. Like me and you laughed at it because it was so absurd. I'm trying to talk about without spoilers. I guess spoiler alert, whatever.
I did say the name earlier anyway.
Jimmy?
Yeah.
So there's a kid in the beginning. You get his sort of like,
backstory.
He has backstory as the outbreak happens. And then you reconnect with him at the end of the movie, and he meets up with our kid lead, Spike. And he's played by Jack O'Connell, who we would have last seen in Sinners. And it's a very weird character because his whole little gang of people, it feels like a knockoff of Clockwork Orange. The reason why they're all called the Jimmies in this like weird Power Rangers-esque fighting sequence, it was so out of nowhere.
I loved it.
So out of nowhere, and we laughed at it. The reference is more for the Brits.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, why are they all called the Jimmies? Is it because he's Jimmy? Turns out that they are referencing the person and the look off of someone named Jimmy Salive? I don't know. I'm probably mispronouncing that, as we do constantly on here, drinking game. But the significance of this is, and this Jimmy guy has the tracksuit and the gold chains and the blonde hair with the bangs. Are you looking at
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with this guy. I think Brits are going to know
He's
him.
a DJ.
The dark connection of this character is that he was a nonce, as the Brits call him, a pedo.
Yeah. I'm right here like.
A kitty diddler.
Jimmy Seville.
Jimmy Seville. I totally mistyped that.
But he has, yeah.
Salive.
But there's a Netflix documentary, and it says a British horror story. So
and then makes it just really like, what is going to happen with the Jimmies and Spike? It just seems such a specific take.
You know what it kind of gave me? Do you remember one of the characters in Chappie that was like in a band? Ninja. Yeah. So it reminded me of that vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. So I don't think everyone is going to love this movie, and I don't mind that. I've talked about it before in multiple discussions of movies that I don't think any one movie should be for everybody. It should pick a lane. It should focus all of its energy, time, and money on whatever it is it's trying to do without trying to please everybody, including but not limited to the audience and the corporate heads. It made for a unique movie. And I enjoyed it.
Same
Just
here.
really disappointed to learn that it wasn't a real zombie dung.
Oh my God.
All right, so that's that for that movie. Any last words on that one
No, I
before
don't
we
have
move
any
on
last
to
words.
the movie you for sure want to talk about, and we'll take it away, and I'll read the synopsis of that one.
Because we haven't read it for the other one because it's not needed.
Right, yeah, exactly. Okay. Now we move on to the F1 movie, brought to you by Apple Studios. Director Joseph Krasinski. Basic synopsis is a Formula One driver comes out of retirement to mentor and team up with a younger driver. The theme she's singing, for those who are fans of F1, is the F1 theme.
I can't do it.
Director Joseph Kaczynski also directed Top Gun Maverick, and the significance of that, and we talked about it when this movie was first announced, is he knows how to shoot action. He also did Tron Legacy, which I personally enjoyed a lot, as well as Oblivion with Tom Cruise. This movie looked fucking great.
Oh my God, yes.
The storyline is, if you go into this movie with the mindset of it's a traditional like 80s, 90s sports story, story of redemption, kind of like the Mighty Ducks. In fact, they even used a Mighty Duck line, and I double confirmed that. He wasn't a has-been, he was a never was.
I heard that one, and I was just like, are we talking Mighty Ducks? Because you're using a Mighty Ducks line on a Friday after the NHL draft. How dare you?
Yeah, go ahead.
But no. This movie was I had high hopes for this movie, and I feel like it delivered, especially with the racing. Although there are some, I know I had to I'm like, it's not going to be very technical. It's not going to be to the point. But I know movie magic and all that stuff. You have to Hollywood it up a bit. The only thing that I do have a problem with is probably the use of the female engineer and how she had to have a romance thing in it. That's the only thing that I might have a little bit of an issue.
Played by Carrie Condon and not Rebecca Ferguson, that I kept arguing with. I was like, no, Rebecca Ferguson.
She had red hair.
Which,
I'm like,
if you Google it, people mistake her all the time. So, you know.
But the whole time we were arguing, you were telling me that she had red hair, and we just got out of the movies, and it was fresh in my mind that she was a blonde in this movie. So I was very confused. I was out of body experience over here looking at this I think I died.
My bad.
Yeah, it's fine. No, that was the only thing that I had an issue with, just because females in motorsports, whether you're a commentator, whether you're an analyst, an engineer, anything like that, it's very hard. It's a very male-driven thing, and for you to have something in the movie that can bring attention to it, and you were given a little bit of romance, it kind of takes away the power of it. But there is a Sky Sports commentator. She made it a point this race weekend to go and interview every female that was there for the teams as the cars were setting up to go do the race. But movie related, I think the racing angles and scenes on those, spot on. I felt like I was just watching a race. Yeah,
it not only did it capture the energy and the speed of the racing, it also made it cinematic. It utilized some of the existing cameras that are on the cars originally, as well as putting rigs on the cars. It did what Gran Turismo should have done, the way it was, how intense those scenes were, and there were enough of them. In fact, the whole movie opens up with a race scene that is so fun, and it has enough of that. But going back to the love interest thing, I kind of also wish there wasn't that romantic relationship, but in my opinion, two attractive people like that, you kind of go, yeah, you're gonna have the hots for one another. Although I think the more poetic ending would have been if they didn't end up together.
Yeah, how we had what was the other movie that we talked about where there was that little bit of a banter between them, but they didn't end up together? Twisters, yeah. I felt like if you would have taken that route, I felt like it would have been good.
In the wake of that, fans of Bridgerton star Simone Ashley were really mad that she was cut completely out of this F1 movie. So as we talk about that, I think it was a proper choice, because as you're watching the movie, the focus is on Sonny Hayes, played by Brad Pitt, his teammate, played by Damson Idris. And I think any more thrown into that movie would have been unnecessary distraction.
Okay.
So I'm fine with the little love interest that they had in there, and I'm totally fine with it being cut. It's not like it hasn't been done before. In the Spider-Man 3 movie, the Andrew Garfield one. Spider-Man 3? Spider-Man 2? I forget. There was a Mary Jane, and she was cut completely out. I forget the actress who was supposed to play her, and I'm pretty sure people are listening and be like, I know it is. But so it's been done before, and I don't hate for it. So the things that were actually included in the movie was a ton of fun. I think non-F1 fans there's enough explained for them that they can have a really fucking good time.
And you don't have to binge watch Drive to Survive. I will tell you that.
And all the references, and for the F1 fans, like all of the references are there. All of your favorite drivers, little nods and cameos, if you will, like all, including Lewis Hamilton's dog.
Oh, Roscoe! I freaking love Roscoe. Roscoe is like, that dog better never die.
So
had
like
pneumonia last year.
Oh, so there is something for both fans and non-fans that I think you can enjoy. Naturally, like you said, for the big fans, there's some parts where you can, if you sit with it, can pick it apart and go, well, actually, they wouldn't do this and that wouldn't happen or something like that.
I'm like, Sonny would have had a lot of penalty. He would have been, he would be out. He would collect all those 12 points and be kicked out. He would not be going after the next race. 1-2 races, he'd be done. He'd be like, you're done. You're not racing until you, like, whatever your ban is for a while. But I did like that this was produced by like Lewis Hamilton, and it had
by the way, he is a driver for Formula One. At the time, he was driving for Mercedes.
Yeah,
now he's driving
Ferrari.
Ferrari.
At that time when the movie was being filmed, it was for Mercedes. He's currently driving for Scuderia Ferrari. But that, and then all the drivers, the fact that there were some past drivers that are not with us in this season anymore, it's fine.
It's something that us being F1 fans, which we just saw the race today, and what a fun race.
Yeah.
That we were both looking at each other like, oh, remember when he was racing?
Yeah.
Remember when they were on that team? Oh.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, there is that one. There's that one. But I appreciate the fact that they gave him those credits there. There wasn't just, oh, you were shown, but you're never going to give the credit or anything.
Right.
Like, thank you for adding those racers for that. But I also liked how they really did this thing where they got like racers, like dramas from the past, and you'll figure it out when you're watching it. You're like, is that from that? Like, is this from this and this? And then they're complaining about something and they have the little thing. I'm like, is that racer having a little bit of thing from previous things? And I'm like, this is amazing. This is a nice little drama thing. But also there is a F1 commentator.
Mm-hmm. Ruth Buskin?
Yeah, she did a lot of the consulting in this. There is another little thing that I have to add to this. My potential issue that was going to come out with this was who is going to be doing the commentating that's going to feel like you're actually watching a race. I don't want like some random person commentating and not getting like, if you're an F1 fan.
Who do we have? That you don't know them off the top of your head?
Oh, I need to confirm because I don't want to say his son's name instead of his name.
Good.
We had Martin Brundle and David Croft. So if you have been watching Formula One for a while, you will recognize those voices right away. And them doing the commentary was amazing. And I like how Martin Brundle's son is now in the F1 commentator's side. You could see him every once in a while here and there.
But you pointed something great out, that it brought into the whole fold the old racers, the legends of the old racers, the Sennas, the Hunts, probably missing other people, but they brought that along with the character of Sonny Hayes because he drove with them, and then connecting it with our current racers, like the legends and the current legends. And I did like the nod, and I'm pretty sure it was more like a contractual thing where Hayes is driving behind Max, and he goes, oh, "He's a good driver." He's the only one that really says like, oh, "He's a damn good driver," because Max is like a god amongst humans. Yeah,
definitely.
If he's not getting fucking DNF'd by Antonelli, but
But that was a mistake excuse me. No, even he said, he came up to me and apologized, and he said that would happen to any driver.
I know. I'm just making fun. It's just a joke. You were mentioning the music.
Yes. Okay. So from the beginning, we have music within the movie. It paced with the action of it. There was never a song that never matched the adrenaline or what was going on that scene. And I really appreciate that, because some movies do have this weird thing that they do, and they pick songs that don't go with action, or they think that it's going with a scene and it just takes the whole thing out. And for me, that's like one thing that I just would not like at all. But yeah, I think they did a really good job with that.
Jolly good, then jolly good. Overall, you think people are going to enjoy this movie? You would highly recommend it?
I highly would recommend it, especially if you kind of want to see what I'm kind of into.
Yeah.
And kind of understand. And
you won't get lost. And we're going to see it in 4DX.
It's not in 40X. It's film for IMAX.
But it's not in 40X?
No.
There's no 40X showings?
No.
I thought you were looking for them.
Yeah, there was all for Jurassic World.
Ah, damn it. Oh, I guess when I have to see in 40X. I guess we'll never see a 40X movie. God damn it.
I kind of just appreciate the fact that it's a film for IMAX.
Totally. And like I said before, it looks fucking amazing.
The old man sitting next to me, the old gentleman, him and his wife, they're like doing kind of like how we were doing.
The people sitting next to me were doing the same thing.
So, no, but I kind of liked it because not only was he kind of just like going to his wife, but any part there was something that mentioned a racing part. Like I would look at you and then I like corner my eye. He would look at his wife and then we both kind of like look at each other like big smiles and we're just like, yeah, right.
Dude, there was a lot of F1 fans there, which is how it should have been.
Yeah.
Like we wore our shirts. People wearing like their fucking jerseys and shit or whatever.
Their kits.
Team
Kits.
Their sweaters. All right, so yeah, F1 was a whole fuckload of fun. Again, just in a nutshell, the story, expect more of a classic sports story. So like it's something that's gonna win an Oscar, but it's just still
You never know.
Man, I mean, for action and that part, the story was like very. Actually, before we move on, that's what I wanted to mention was because the story was like a classic one with your kind of typical tropes, including like an expected villain, which was pretty fun. And, the young teammate being really cocky, like, but for my taste, a little bit too cocky, that to have like three big heavy hitters like Condon and Pitt and Javier Bardem, that anytime there are the emotional stakes and those really intense scenes, they carry the movie. They carry that aspect of the movie. Not to say that that Damson Idris as Joshua Pierce didn't do that. It just wasn't written for him as that. And I feel like he was underutilized as an actor as far as his storyline was concerned. But everyone else, man, because I heard some people talking about, well, I think Pitt was miscast in this, and I think Javier Bardem could have done something better. And it's like, no dude, they were some big heavy hitters, and it filled in the gaps when you weren't watching a race.
Yeah, and the fact that they were heavy hitters and also they knew Formula One, like freaking, like Brad Pitt is into this sport. So it felt like he gave the exact energy that would be given for a driver. That same thing with Javier Bardem. I think it was all really good. Yeah,
so we enjoyed it. Of course we would. I was really scared when we watched the movie. I'm like, we might hate it because of all the other little details that might stand out to us. But no, overall, it was a lot of fun. So let's then get into the specifics of how much we liked it with our segment that we call Rotten Tomatoes YHST Gets Fresh. Excuse me. Every other episode, Al and I alternate in guessing the Rotten Tomato critic and audience score from 0 to 100, 59 and below being rotten, 16 above being fresh. We will now give our personal ratings as well as guessing the critic rating and the audience rating on the aforementioned movies. And it's Elva's turn to go. Oh.
Woo!
All right, let's start with Elio.
I gave it an 83. I say critics gave it maybe a 79, and I gave audience as a 79 as well.
Ooh, really? Oh, you were so close. Okay, so your personal rating, 83, was actually close. It was on the nose with what the critics rated it at,
nice.
Which was an 83%. Okay. And the audiences, expect whoever did go to see it, enjoyed it at a 91%.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. It's like more people need to go see this movie. For 28 years later, what's your personal, and then what's your critic guess?
Okay, so I give my personal an 80. Critics, I give it an 88, and I'm going to give audience at an 83.
So
I might be wrong with all these.
No, you were actually really close with the critic is 89%.
Oh, okay.
But remember, the audiences were split on this. Damn near rotten, 64%.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was that zombie dick.
Okay, and then last but not least, the F1.
I give it a 90. I say critics gave it an 87 and audience an 89.
Critics gave it an 83%.
Okay.
And the audiences fucking loved it at 93%. Hell,
nice.
Yeah. So there you have it. There it is. Of course, we don't really give a lot of weight to the Rotten Tomato score, because sometimes you look into that and people are just like, I started the page so I can shit on this movie or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's promoted a certain way and they expected a different thing. But
definitely,
all these three movies I can heavily recommend, although a little hit and miss on 28 years later, depending on who you are as a person. But there you go. There's our guesses. And I know the episode's going long, but we have a new game That's right. It's like a version of trivia. So we are going to go 4 rounds, and the game is basically, in each round, we are going to present actors in this movie. We won't say the movie's name, but with each actor, 5 actors, starting with the difficult one. You have a total of 5 points per round. And if you guess it at the first actor, you get a total of 5 points. But if you guess it at the last actor, you only get 1 point. If you can't guess the movie by then, 0 points. You get 1 guess per actor.
Okay.
So no going like, oh, was it Shawshank Redemption? Was it Green Mile?
Yeah.
It's like, no, you get the 1 guess and then I move on to the next actor.
Gotcha,
all right?
gotcha. Okay.
I'm going to start with you.
Oh, okay. And then baby.
Okay. All righty then. First actor, Rowan Atkinson.
Oh, shit.
Oh, you don't get to Google the faces
No,
either.
I'm not Googling.
Okay.
No, because that would give the thing.
And people listening at home, I want you to make your guesses and tell us down in the comment section what actor you got it correct at.
I don't know. Next.
No guess? You do get a free guess.
No, because I don't know who the person is.
Okay, all right. Next actor, Whoopi Goldberg.
Ghost?
Valiant guess. So now we have 3 points.
Okay.
Available. Matthew Broderick.
The face sister act?
All right. Now it's going to get easier, but you get less points.
Okay.
Jeremy Irons.
Yo, how is this easier? I don't know who that fucker is.
All right, here we go. Here's the win. James Earl Jones.
Lion King?
You get 1 point. Mark it.
Amazing.
1 point. Rowan Atkinson was Zazu. Whoopi Goldberg was one of the hyenas. Matthew Broderick was Simba. Jeremy Irons was Scar. Yeah. Okay, now you hit me with the movie.
Okay.
Here we go.
Caleb Landry Jones.
Okay. I don't know. I don't have a guess.
Okay. Carrie Condon.
That's the actress from F1. But what else was she in? Oh no. Wait. Wonder?
No. Sam Rockwell.
Holy shit. These are great guys. These are great.
And I know we've seen this movie, so I know you would know this.
Oh.
Ding, 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 ding.
What's the
You gotta guess. Okay. Woody Harrelson.
Oh, I don't know this.
You don't know it?
No.
Okay. Beep.
You always say beep. It's a buzz.
Well, I had to get you to do it. Okay. And here is the main one. Frances McDormand.
Woody Harrelson, Frances McDermott. What movie were they in together? It's not Hereditary.
You ready?
It's not Three Billboards Outside Ebbing.
Ding,
Is
ding,
it
ding,
that
ding,
one?
ding, 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 ding.
Whoa.
But you got it wrong because you already guessed one movie and then, yeah, so you got no points.
Oh, fuck. Okay. All right. So 0 points for me. Damn it. You were in the lead by 1. Okay. Here we go. Now I'm going to hit you with the fucking difficult one. Although that was good. You're playing the game correctly, but also go fuck yourself. Matt Damon.
No.
Ben Affleck.
Fuck, what's that? I don't remember.
Salma Hayek.
I'm just gonna make this easy and just go no.
Jason Mewes or Jay Mewes.
Who the fuck is Jamie?
And Kevin Smith.
I'm gonna go beep it.
Again with a beep. It's a buzz. Dogma.
I never seen that movie.
Damn it. All right. My bad. Hey, still, if you were like peripherally aware of that movie.
Yeah, I was like, no. I know that's a hard movie to find.
Well, because it's not streaming anywhere, but although it is showing in theaters, I think it was showing in theaters last weekend. But anyways, all right. So we are at you 1 point, and now for the win. Okay, hit me.
Brad Pitt.
Daredevil.
No.
Wait, Brad Pitt. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about Ben Affleck, but I already guessed it.
Gary Oldman. Sir Gary Oldman.
Sir Gary Oldman. Ooh. Me, Joe Black.
No.
Oh my god, I should know this by those 2 actors.
Val Kilmer.
Oh, this is good. This is good. Kilmer, Brad Pitt, Gary Oldman.
Val
12
Kilmer.
Monkeys?
No. Dennis Hopper.
Oh my gosh. I should know this. I know all of those actors.
Beep it.
Stop saying beep. I hate it.
Patricia Arquette.
Is it... Wait, Brad Pitt. Is it True Romance?
Ding, 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 ding.
Damn it. We tied it. Holy crap. All right, we consider that a tie. We'll carry that over for tiebreaker on the next episode.
I picked
right?
good movies.
That was actually really good. Okay, so God, that was loud. So that's the first time we're playing that game. We were gonna get the kinks out of it and stuff like that. But
I made sure to check our list to see if I've seen.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that way I can verify what movies.
Okay, sorry, long running episode, but when we talk about 3 movies and they're interesting movies like that, like we're going to talk about them. So that just means more content for you and a lot of shit for me to edit for me in the future. But now we get to say bye and we get to say thank you for listening. And again, if you want to visit us and tell us about what you thought about those 3 movies, you can do that on social media at
YHST Pod
on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And if you want to support us, you can do that on Venmo
at YHST Pod.
Thank you again for everyone who's been listening, who's been part of our little YHST family.
Thank you for being a friend.
I don't want to get copyrighted and get taken down off of YouTube. But again, on those social medias, you can also look for bite-sized, spoiler-free movie reviews. We're doing that. We're hitting you with some news. So if ever there's a movie you don't want to hear a full conversation or spoilers, look to those 3 things so that you can get your little bite-sized stuff and not have to listen to all of this fun nonsense. But when you listen to this, you get to hear what we thought about the Rotten Tomato scores and trivia every now and again.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Until then, let us know what movies are on your growing list of films that has people asking you the question, you haven't seen that? See you next time, folks.
Okay, bye.